Welcome to Trench, a small, peaceful land perverted by the concrete city it harbours. The citizens of Dima find themselves cold, isolate, depressed, and lost. Attempts to escape the concrete walls are futile. However, mythos from the few who've managed to escape teach that the maps of Trench given by the ruling bishops lie. The true coordinates were rotated to hide the truth. To escape, you need to realize and remember the fact that east is up. There's a similar story, one of those trapped in a layered hell. At the bottom, there's no warmth nor light, but at the top, we see the Garden of Eden planted in the east. Along with it, heaven, paradise. Those who find themselves trapped in the Inferno watch as the sun rises in the east, illuminating the garden and paradise. For them, they know that such a light is freedom. East is freedom. East is paradise. East is up. The latter story I described to you there was Dante's Divine Comedy, better known more colloquially just as Dante's Inferno. The former story was the hidden storyline littered through the last decade of albums by 21 Pilots. It's my belief that not just are these two stories linked, but 21 Pilots has told a modern reimagining of Dante's Divine Comedy. More so, it's my theory that if we're to read and understand the Divine Comedy, we can make a prediction by the end of this video for what's in store for us in the next album, Breach. So come along, and if you're one of the people who's now saying, 21 Pilots, the guys from the Roblox concert have lore? Where do I even begin? Our time in the story of Trench begins by introducing us to the character of Clancy. He was a citizen of Dima, who, like many, found solace in the idea of accepting a position within the city walls. We see that acceptance throughout the letters that Clancy wrote that were uncovered leading up towards the release of the Trench album. But we also see in those letters bubbling a discontent of Clancy and a regrettable attitude towards his position. Our story officially starts with Clancy at the bottom of a valley between the mountains of Trench, towering but ragged. He's chased through the valleys of Trench by one of the 9 bishops, adorned in a red cloak and horsebacked. This bishop's name is Nicholas Bourbaki, better known among the circle of the 9 as Nico, but known better by the citizens of Dima as Blurryface. Clancy runs through the rocky crevices, lost and alone, in hopes of never getting caught and sent back to Dima. His loneliness is then disrupted, as dozens of banditos emerge and overlook from the highest cliff ledges. Donning masks and yellow tape, they offer Clancy a prospect of hope, community, and connection. They're so close, yet too far for him to reach. Clancy gets caught, seized by Nico, and dragged away. The banditos watch on, powerless. They did help, but it ultimately wasn't enough. It's here that Clancy realizes if he is ever to truly escape Dima, he can't do it alone. As Clancy's limp body gets dragged away by Nico, one bandito stays to watch over him. A bandito who stands with a yellow cross lining his heart. Torchbearer. Torchbearer doesn't let Clancy get forgotten. In fact, he actually travels back to Dima to retrieve him, so they can make their escape. That story was revealed to us throughout the songs, music videos, and special hidden media of the album Trench. The album quite interestingly sets up for us the world of Trench itself, along with the circular city of Dima and the characters, Torchbearer and Clancy, these very good friends. It is important to note that Tyler Joseph has never gone on record saying that there is any link to the Divine Comedy, but as I think you'll come to see in this video, there is some influence, however major. It's also interesting to note that Tyler Joseph isn't the only one doing a reimagining. Dante did. Dante's Inferno is in itself a reimagining of the depiction of hell, the Catholic depiction of hell. In it, he describes hell as this circular pit funneling down with 9 layers, surrounded by the lost souls. And in the center, the middle, the bottom, you will find the treacherous. It seems similar to what we see with Dima, this circular concrete city surrounded by the lost souls we see as the neon gravestones, when in the center, the middle, you find the betraying bishops. That's sweet, that's symbolic, it's cute. The real meat of this theory, however, comes from when we actually meet the characters of Dante himself and Virgil. So prepare to cast judgment, because I really do think there's more to this, even if it is just a theory. Okay. The Divine Comedy opens as such. Midway upon the journey of our life, I find myself within a forest dark, for the straightforward path had been lost. Dante, the character written and embodying the author Dante, holds the objective to reach paradise, and has already attempted to begin his ascent up and out of the Inferno. Just as we saw Clancy trying to escape Dima and find freedom, we now see Dante at the foot of Mount Purgatorio ready to make his climb and escape the Inferno to make his way towards paradise. Paradiso. He travelled through the dark forest, which was savage, rough, and stern. The path was originally straight and clear, but he quickly lost his way. Upon the daunting hills where Dante planned to begin his ascent stood 3 beasts, a spotted panther, a ravenous lion, and a she-wolf. Each beast, each terror, represented a different sin of Dante's. Just as Clancy was pursued by Nico, the blurry-faced mirroring of his own anxiety and spiritual doubt, Dante was pursued by his own sins and misdemeanors. Horrified, Dante fled in fear, weaving through warping trees and down mountainous slopes. But that's when Dante saw him, looking down off the hill. While I was rushing downward to the lowland, before mine eyes did one present himself, who seemed from long continued silence hoarse. Virgil. A beacon of light in the dark, a lantern lighting the way. Perhaps you could call him a torchbearer. Virgil introduces himself as Virgil, the deceased poet of Rome, composer of Latin literatures that became the inspirations for the inspirations of the future. Virgil influenced the likes of Shakespeare and Milton and Chaucer and anyone who's on a novelty fridge magnet, hell, even my dad. It's here that this ghostly man Virgil reveals to Dante that he must first journey through all 9 circles of hell before he can begin his ascent to the slopes of Mount Purgatorio. Virgil promised to be a guiding spirit through the underworld, and together the two formed a kind of companionship. Through Dante's Inferno, we see Virgil guide Dante through all the layers of hell, down all the way to the 9th and last circle of hell, where Satan himself lies, the beast. Here, autonomy is far from even a concept. Anyone who finds himself doomed here becomes frozen solid in an encasing of ice for eternity, never to breathe again. When Dante and Virgil enter here, to climb back up, they're forced to use the body of Satan himself as it lies there still, scaled and icy. I, like many, were taken aback when the colourful, bright colours of Scaled and Icy appeared for the first time. It was like nothing else we'd seen. I didn't know how I felt about the hidden messaging of destroy or the warping of East is up. Even more so, eagle-eyed viewers were quick to point out that the name Scaled and Icy had its own meaning altogether. If you thought that was cool, you should see what I can do with Tom Marvolo Riddle. And dyslexia. Clancy becomes a pawn for the bishops. He's made to perform to the people and lie to them. Scaled and Icy is propaganda. Just as Dante needed to descend into hell to escape it, so does Clancy. And here is Tyler's way of writing that metaphorical turn. Clancy's made to make Dima seem idyllic, to glorify the sights like Mulberry Street and to numb your pains with artificial highs. And if the metaphor is seeming a little subtle for you, don't you worry. In the music video for everyone's favourite song, Saturday, scratch that, reverse it, everyone's second favourite song, second to Bounce Man, under the sea, in the depths of the dark, there's a submarine party where Clancy is made to introduce newcomers to Dima. There, they're shown how idyllic and vibrant and lovely and partyish Dima can be. It's there that under the control of the Bishop Keons, a beast lurking in the dark attacks them. It's this beast that ends up freeing Clancy once more from the grasp of Dima, leaving them astray in the Paladin Strait, where they wash up on the island of violence, Voldsoy. I understand that this is getting dense. This is multiple years of storytelling wrapped up into a few minutes, so let's recap. For Dante, he's made to confront his fears and sins with the assistance of a guiding light. He, Dante, and that assisting guiding light, Virgil, have to descend further and further into hell, where the climax, the turning point, is when they step foot onto the beast itself so that they can now ascend towards Paradiso. For Clancy, he's made to confront his fears and his own entrapment with the assistance of a guiding light for him, Torchbearer. It's not until they've actually gone back into Dima, however involuntary, that they can make their true escape from Dima. It's neat as well to see in the Scaled and Icy story the turning point between Clancy being on the back foot and making an advance is when Clancy manages to take over the power that the bishops have taken over. So in a way, it's metaphorically stepping on the beast to make your ascent. It's not one for one. I recognize that. But I think that's the point. This is a modern reimagining for a modern audience. If it was to just regurgitate, well, that would be boring. And it's noting what the crucial change is in the next album, Clancy, that allows us to know the trajectory for Breach. Did I fucking nail that take? Oh my god. The next time we see Torchbearer and Clancy is after their return from the island of violence, Voldsoy, after crossing the Paladin Strait. Back on the mainland of Trench, they attempt to reconvene with the Bandito tribe, and it's there that Clancy makes a realization, or should I say discovery, about his guide, Torchbearer. The twist of the album is that Torchbearer, despite his physical appearance, was not there truly in physical presence. Torchbearer was a projection throughout the Scaled and Icy experience. He was a spirit-like guide, not truly by his side. This not-so-subtle memo really hits Clancy head-on, and it makes him realize that if he is going to ever escape his demons and face them head-on, he has to do it himself. And by now I assume you expect me to say, this isn't the first time we've heard this. Whilst in Dante's Divine Comedy the figure of Virgil is with Dante, he's depicted as a ghost, a deceased poet lost to time. But even further, Virgil does feature the limitation that he, in his life, was unbaptized, and now is stuck in limbo between heaven and hell. Simply put, Dante can't enter heaven by the assistance of Virgil, and has to go it alone, believing that Dante can make it over the horizon into paradise himself. The parallel between Torchbearer and Virgil is that they both become characters who can lead through the dark and yet can't find themselves into the light. Meanwhile, the parallel between Clancy and Dante is that they both have to find their own way into Paradiso and yet are halted by their own ghosts. At the top of Mount Purgatorio in the east, Dante is halted by the Garden of Eden, the earthly paradise. A place that in context with hell is beauty, but in context with heaven is shame. Here Dante must come to grasps with his own sins before entering heaven. In cantos 30 and 31 of Purgatorio, Dante is rebuked and made to confront and repent for his sins, the same sins represented by the beasts at the beginning of his journey. Unless he confronts the beasts from the beginning of his story, he cannot make his way into paradise. And that confrontation is exactly what we see. At the climax of the album Clancy takes on the towers of the 9 bishops, making his way up towards them, where he can take them out one by one. He's almost victorious, until a familiar foe rears his ugly head. Nico.
Hello, Clancy.
And that is how the album Clancy ends. Right on the cusp of what would be freedom. Right on the cusp of what would be paradise. And if you wait till the end of the video, you'll see us predict... I'm kidding. Let's predict Breach. To do a Paradiso story is difficult. If you play your cards wrong, it can feel cheap. Imagine if you got to the end of a great story and you heard, they all live happily ever after. It would make you retrospectively rethink the whole thing. That's why I think what Tyler will do with Breach has to be clever but unique. And I believe I've worked it out. Starting with these 9 circles. Any righteous clicky would be quick to tell you that these 9 circles are more than just the Blurryface album cover. In fact, they are representative of the 9 towers found in the middle of Dima. 1 tower for each of the 9 bishops. That motif of the number 9 keeps showing up, right? 9 bishops, 9 towers, and in Dante's story, the 9 layers of hell. Everyone knows the 9 layers of hell, but lesser known is in the story of Paradiso, where we see there are also 9 layers of heaven. I saw a lot of 21 Pilots fans get confused as to why The Contract was the first thing we saw off of Breach, whilst it was only the 4th song on the official track list later to be revealed. I believe this here is our reason why. Each circle of heaven is represented by a celestial body, Jupiter, Earth, Venus. And each celestial body is represented by a class of person who got into heaven but still had some fault. For example, the moon is where people would go if they weren't consistent with their vows, synonymous to their covenants, synonymous to their contracts. And it works if you look at the track list. Those first few songs, like City Walls and Garbage, seem to be about escaping hell, a bad place. But then you get to the contract, number 4 on the track list, and after that there are 8 more songs. Starting with the contract, you have 9 songs and 9 circles of heaven. Now, as someone who recently watched the new Superman movie, I think I'm quaintly aware that people don't really love reimaginings unless they're comic accurate. It's for that reason that I'm sure that there's many a Dante Nation ifties right now who are screaming at me through the screen because I've left someone important out of the discussion. Whilst Virgil couldn't get Dante into heaven himself, there was someone who assisted Dante in those final moments. Beatrice. It's not until the very end of Purgatorio do we meet Beatrice in the flesh. She acts as a beacon of spiritual love and divine care. It's Beatrice who guides Dante through the circles of heaven, and it's pretty clear that Beatrice is a real-life woman, that the real-life Dante was so infatuated with that he made her into mythos. It would be weird to have such a pivotal role in the story completely absent from the new story. Hence, I believe that is soon to change. Trench got its name from the island of Trench. Scaled and Icy got its name from the beast and the spiritual death of Clancy. And Clancy got its name from the Clancy character himself. And I believe Breach gets its name from the way Beatrice was pronounced in the original Italian translation of Dante's Divine Comedy, Beatrice. It is my belief that we will see Beatrice in Breach. It is my belief that Beatrice will be a turning point in Breach. It is my belief that Beatrice is Tyler's wife, Jenna. And more so, that the entire story of Blurry Face to Breach is Tyler's story in life, up until meeting Jenna. It's common knowledge that Tyler, since the very beginning, has mixed biblical imagery and his own personal experiences to make his songs and his stories. So, if we now look at the story of Trench, in line with Dante's approach to storytelling, but also Tyler's experience in life, then suddenly the story of Trench paints one clear picture. The story of Blurryface is representative of Tyler's youth. It's about his disassociation and disillusionment from God. It's him fearing his doubt, begging for salvation from his heavy, dirty soul, pleading that he won't be forgotten as a goner, and yearning to just turn back time to the good old days when he wasn't stressed out. Trench is what it was like for him to meet Josh and experience those early days performing as 21 Pilots. It's those early regional at best days where he truly gets to believe that there is a life outside of Dima through expression. But then we see Scaled and Icy, where it's being a performer that traps you. Whether it's making expression now a job or just the idol of fame, being a famous person in everyone's eyes and nothing but, either way, there's no way to run from it now, but through it. You have to tackle it head on. And now, onto Clancy and Breach. Josh, as a light for Tyler, can take him very far, but it's only Tyler himself that can take the final step. And for Tyler, I'd say that final step is Jenna. Paradiso. It's not perfect. Dima still bears its scars. But for a person who's bruised, face of contusions, well, that's enough. Paradise is love. Ain't that sappy? But, dare I say, an appropriate ending. Whether or not Tyler intended any of this, who's to say? Personally, I think it's nice to think that no matter the time or history, people just want to tell the same kind of story. A story that starts with self-discovery and moves to perseverance and ends in salvation. That's beautiful. There is one more connection I would like to show you before I move off. The way I normally end these types of videos is by saying, so long, thanks for all the clicks, and I do something musical as a send-off. And I think I found something appropriate to do here. And it's not House of Gold on the ukulele. I'm saving the ukulele for when I have to apologize for something. You get the drill. So if you'll indulge me. If you remember how story went, you'll remember that Dante was fleeing through the dark forest, pursued by these creatures that were representative of his own fears and his own sins. And it's only until amongst the trees he manages to see and know the poet Virgil, his guiding light who will allow him to escape his fears. So, if I'm right, and Tyler has been secretly saying that the beginning of that story is analogous to his latter teen years, well then this song gains one hell of a meaning. This song is called Trees. He wrote it when he was 17 for his album No Fun Intended. Clever bastard. And in it, he sings, picturing himself within a very similar forest, as he's looking out for a saving figure, yearning to know it, yearning to see it. And of course, it's this song that 21 Pilots since 2010 have decided to end all of their concerts with. See you in the next one.